Good morning, children. Good morning to all of you. Hope you are well. Let's start from whatever we did yesterday. We will start the next. So yesterday we did the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic transcription. We did many points regarding that. So today we will do some differences, some information about the different type of RNAs. So we have three types of RNAs. RNAs are of type. And those three messenger RNAs. So we have these three types of RNAs, and these three types of RNAs differ from each other. I have already shared the notes with you regarding the RNAs, the different types of RNAs, and on that basis, I think you already have those notes. So where the difference between the three types of RNAs I have given. So if we see, if we start studying the properties, characteristic properties of each of the RNA, let's discuss something about first the messenger RNA. You know that messenger RNA is formed as a result of transcription RNA, which is present 5% of the total RNA. Only this much messenger RNA is present. It's only 5% of the total RNA. Now, that means it is least abundant. It is least abundant, just 5%, because it is synthesized as a result of transcription in the nucleoplast. Now, if we say its size can be from moderate to large size. Moderate to large size, it can be moderate size or large size. Depends how long chain has been formed from the transcription unit, how many genetic codes it carries. Okay. Now, what does it carry? It carries coding message for amino acids. So, what does it carry? It has coding message. Coding message. It has amino acids. Then, besides this, the messenger RNA formed is like this. So, this is linear, always linear and not coiled. And not coiled, never coiled. It is always linear. It carries a coded message for the coding message to synthesize amino acids by the process of translation. Then which particular RNA polymerase synthesizes this messenger RNA? This is synthesized by RNA polymerase 2. RNA polymerase RNA lifespan. If we see the lifespan of this is short-lived. This is short-lived, and for how long will it live? It will live till the time till the protein synthesis takes place. That means once the coded message is read, is decoded, it's of no use. So it gets degraded. It gets degraded soon after the coded message is decoded. So once the coded message to synthesize message protein is decoded, it's of no use.
the template strand, it provides the information for the synthesis of messenger RNA. So this is how it is from DNA. It is transferred to messenger RNA from the template strand. So this was about the messenger RNA. We come to another type of RNA, which is rRNA, ribosomal RNA. Now, what are the characteristic features? It is most abundant. It is most abundant out of all the RNAs. This forms about 80% of the total RNAs. It forms 80% of the total RNA, so it is abundant. Now, size is same, moderate to large size. This is also moderate to large size. If we talk about the size, then this is coiled. This is highly coiled, whereas it is linear, but this is coiled. Now, like the messenger RNA which carries a coding message, it does not carry any coded message. Does not carry any coded message. No coded message is carried by this. So this just helps in protein synthesis. Besides this, which particular RNA polymerase synthesizes it? It is synthesized by RNA polymerase 1. RNA polymerase 1 synthesizes it. That means ribosomal RNA. Now, like after the coded message is decoded, it gets degraded, the messenger RNA. Messenger RNA gets degraded once a coded message is read or it's decoded. But this doesn't. This is more stable. This is more stable. Out of all the RNAs. Now, this is, insoluble RNA. This is also called as insoluble RNA. This is also called as insoluble RNA and forms ribosome. This is the RNA which forms ribosomes. And these ribosomes are used for protein synthesis and forms the protein factories of the cell. Then we come to the third type of RNA, which is tRNA. This is just an information about the RNAs, the three types of RNAs, just the general information. Now this is 15% of the total RNA. 15%. That means which one is abundant? Ribosomal rRNA is most abundant. It is about 80%. Now, what is the structure? This, if we see the size, this is moderate to large, this is moderate to large, this is smallest in size. Out of the three, the transfer RNA is smallest in size, and it has a clover leaf-like structure. If you remember, it's like a cross. It is somewhat like this. If you remember the structure of tRNA, so it has a clover leaf-like structure, and it is highly coiled. And is highly coiled, not linear. It is highly coiled. So this is about the structure of this. Then this also carries message. If you remember, it is I always give this transfer RNA a name that it is a coulis. It is a coulis. It carries the amino acid. So of course, this also carries some coded message, which is in the form of anticodon. If you remember, anticodons were there on on transfer RNA, which codes for particular amino acid, and on the basis of these anticodon, it attaches to the messenger RNA. If you remember, it was like this. It was like this. If you remember, messenger RNA was like this. The structure, clover leaf-like structure, and here it carried the anticodon. If you remember, it carried the anticodon. Suppose it has here AUG. Where will it attach to the messenger RNA? It will attach to messenger RNA will have U here, UAC. It will attach to UAC codon of messenger RNA. So this is how it attaches. So of course, this also carries a coded message in the form of anticodons. So this also carries a coded message for one amino acid. See, this this particular codon, and then an amino acid will be carried here. Amino acid will be carried here. So this carries a coded message for one amino acid. Carries coded message for one amino acid. This is another feature of this. Now what synthesizes it? It is synthesized by, this is synthesized by RNA polymerase 2. Here we are talking about eukaryotic cell. That is why we are saying RNA polymerase 1. Sorry, this is synthesized by RNA polymerase 3. We are saying RNA polymerase 2, RNA polymerase 1, and RNA polymerase 3. Whereas in case of eukaryotic cell, all the RNAs are synthesized by just one RNA polymerase. In eukaryotic cell only we have RNA polymerase 1, RNA polymerase 2, and RNA polymerase 3 to synthesize ribosomal RNA, mRNA, and tRNA. Okay, whereas in prokaryotic cell we have just one RNA polymerase to synthesize all the three types of RNAs. Now, another is, this is also stable and can be used again and again. This is highly stable. This is also stable, can be used again and again. How it can be used again and again? How it can be used again and again? See, one RNA polymerase carrying one transfer RNA carrying one amino acid can be used again. It can carry, and this amino acid is used. This forms one polypeptide, another. Then it can, once it is used, it can carry another amino acid also. So this RNA can be used, the transfer RNA can be used again and again to carry amino acid. Why it is can be used again and again? To carry amino acids. And as you know, amino acids, which amino acid will it carry? It will be on the basis of the anticodon and codon. Codon of messenger RNA which is attached, and anticodon which is present in the tRNA. Now, so this way, this it attaches to the messenger RNA and it synthesizes, it carries the amino acid which is required, and finally the polypeptide chain is formed, which results in the synthesis of a protein chain. Okay, a type of protein which is formed. So these are the differences between the three types of messenger RNA. You all have the notes of this which I gave you, children, or shall I send you it again? Because this is a revision lecture which is going on. So if you want me to send notes again, then it's okay, I'll send it. Otherwise, and if you have it, then I'll not send. Just let me know whether you have it or not. If you don't have it, I'll send it. Yes, beta? If you don't have it, I'll send it. Yes, bache? All of you have the notes of this? Yes, beta? Okay. Which Karthik is this? 9352. This is Karthik Kumar. I think most of you have this. One boy is saying, okay, Paras, you have it. Fine. I know I sent it in the group on itself long before when I was teaching you this chapter for the first time. This is the revision lecture which is going on. We have already done this chapter once. Now this is the repetition of the chapter which is going on. Now after this, we will start with the next topic, and that topic is genetic. I'll check in group, ma'am. Okay. Karthik, if you don't get, then tell me, I'll send you these notes. Okay. Now, better here. Now the next we want to start transcription process we have done. See that diagram of transcription unit, as well as there is a diagram on page number 109. See the transcription unit on NCERT book, page number 108. The diagram on page number 109 of process of transcription in bacteria, and then diagram on page number 110, process of transcription in eukaryote, where the process of splicing has been shown. All these three diagrams are very important. So just practice these three diagrams, and I should know that you have practiced, because which you now see, I don't know, but this is the revision which is going on. So by this time you should be very thorough with the chapter. This is the second time revision which we are doing. So even with the diagrams you have to be thorough, because in the examinations diagrams are also asked. So practice these three diagrams. Transcription unit, very important in prokaryotes. In eukaryotes, you know, splicing takes place only in eukaryotes, so that forms a different diagram which you have to practice. And prokaryotes, there's no splicing, so the formation of messenger RNA is different. And one more diagram yesterday which I told you, that was the diagram of messenger RNA, how it looks like when it is when it becomes messenger RNA from hnRNA. That means a tail is formed, polyguanine poly A tail is formed, and methylated G cap is formed. So then we have the coding region, then we have non-coding segments, leader and trailer segments, we have initiation codons, we have stop codons. All these, when all these things happen to the messenger RNA, how does it look like? So this is also a very important diagram which I told you yesterday. So go through that diagram also and practice all the diagrams which are given, which have been told, which you have understood, okay, which I have taught you. So see, I cannot practice the diagram for you. Practicing the diagram you will only do yourself. So bache, practice all the diagrams properly, and then let me know. I should have some proof that you are really practicing the diagrams. So I should have that proof of you practicing the diagram. Now whichever way you want me to give me proof, whether you draw it, practice it, and send it to me, okay. I would like to see that you have practiced all the diagrams, okay. So do it within the 2 days, practice and show it to me, okay beta. Now we move on to the next topic. And that next topic is genetic code. Now, before I start with this, I'll tell you what is a central dogma. Central dogma is it shows stepwise process of protein synthesis. So how does this, what does it show? It shows DNA. This DNA undergoes the process of transcription, which we have just studied, transcription in eukaryotes, and in prokaryotes also we have studied. So this DNA undergoes the process of transcription, and the template strand, not the coding strand. Coding strand does not form messenger RNA. The messenger RNA is synthesized on the basis of template strand. If you remember, I drew like this for you. This was promoter and terminator. This is the template strand, and this is the coding strand. Coding strand just tells you the, it is used to tell you where promoter is located, where terminator is located, the sites, the locations. It just tells you the locations. The new messenger RNA which is formed, this is on the basis of the nitrogenous bases which are present here. If it has A here, it will form U here. If it is C here, it will form G here. So this is on the basis of template strand. Messenger RNA is formed on the basis of template strand, not on the basis of coding strand. The name is coding strand, but it does not help in synthesis of messenger RNA. No coding from the coding strand. It is only from the template strand. So this was central dogma. DNA from DNA transcription takes place. As a result, messenger RNA is formed, and then this messenger RNA undergoes the next process, which is translation, and as a result of translation, protein synthesis takes place. So this is central dogma. This is known as central dogma, and this central dogma was given by, the well-known scientist Francis Crick. Francis Crick. Francis Crick gave the central dogma, which is DNA transcription, messenger RNA translation, protein synthesis. So it was given by Crick. Now, what happens after the synthesis of messenger RNA? That we have to study. Messenger RNA carries a coded message, which is in the form of nitrogenous bases, which are in the single strand, and those bases, they form genetic codons, and on the basis of the codons, the triplet codons, the protein is synthesized. So what are these genetic codes or genetic codons? So our next topic is that the genetic code or triplet codon. Genetic code or triplet codon or genetic codon. What are these? Why it is known as triplet? It is known as triplet because it is a combination of three bases. Three bases together forms a triplet codon, and they then code for a single amino acid. Then they code for a single amino acid. Now, this genetic code or triplet codon, it was developed by a physicist. And the name of the physicist, anybody remembers? Yes? Already in one of the tests it has been asked the name of the physicist who helped in the formation, the formation of genetic code. He was a physicist. He was not a biologist. He was a physicist. Who helped in that? Can you name? Yes, what was the name? Anybody who remembers? Anybody who remembers the name? Yes, it is George Gamow. George Gamow. This was the name of the physicist who helped in the formation of genetic codon. Now, this man, he had just two informations, and the two informations which formed the basis of the formation of genetic code was, he knew just two things. The first thing which he knew was there are only 4 nitrogenous bases. There are only 4 nitrogenous bases, and those 4 nitrogenous bases are A, G, T, C. A, G, T, C. There are only 4 nitrogenous bases. Here I have written T because we are talking about DNA. If had it been RNA, it will be A, G, U, C. Okay. And the second information which he had was that there are 20 amino acids. Now, how these 20 amino acids will be synthesized by these 4 bases? The question was that. How these 4 bases can form a code for the synthesis of 20 amino acid. Now, they worked on it. Then there were 3 more researchers. They started working on it on the basis of these 2 informations which they had. They started working to form the triplet or to form the genetic code. Now they wanted to know whether it is one nitrogenous base coding for one amino acid or how it will be possible. They wanted to know. Now there was another researchers, and the name of the researchers were Dr. Hargobind Khurana, Marshall Nirenberg, and the third was Severo Ochoa. So Dr. Hargobind Khurana, who was an Indian, originally he was Indian. Dr. Hargobind Khurana, these names are very important. Somewhere it is written Hargobind, somewhere it is written Hargobind Khurana. The second name is Marshall Nirenberg. and the third name is Severo-Ochoa. The third name is Severo-Ochoa. These three researchers, they were also working in the field of genetics, and they also supported and provided some information to George Camo. How did they support? What work they were doing? This Severo-Ochoa, he discovered phosphorylase. He discovered enzyme phosphorylase, and we have done this enzyme phosphorylase. If you remember, what is the use of it? Where have we done this enzyme phosphorylase? If anybody remembers, yes, beta. If you remember phosphorylase, yes, where have we done this? Yes, we have done this enzyme phosphorylase, pyrophosphatase, phosphorylase. Yes, bache, you remember this enzyme phosphorylase? Replication of DNA, yes. Even in transcription, we did it. That is for activating the ribonucleotides. Phosphorylase is required. For activating deoxyribonucleotide or ribonucleotide, this enzyme phosphorylase is required. So this phosphorylase, he discovered, Severo-Ochoa discovered this. Then there was this Nirenberg. What he did, he artificially synthesized poly A, poly C, poly U, and poly G also he artificially synthesized. And what he observed, that poly U stimulated synthesis of phenylalanine. What he did, this gentleman, the second researcher, Marshall Nirenberg, he synthesized, artificially synthesized. That means in the cell-free system, artificially synthesized. When we say artificially synthesized, that means what type of system we are talking about? Cell-free system. Cell-free system. No living cell is used up here. In the cell-free system, he artificially synthesized poly U, poly C, poly T, and poly G. What do we mean by poly U? That means U in the system, all U's were synthesized in one setup. In another setup, all C were synthesized artificially. In another system, all T were synthesized artificially. In another system, all G were synthesized artificially. So he took one nitrogenous base and he synthesized it in a cell-free system, or artificially synthesized it. Now what he concluded, what he observed, that this poly U, as you know, U always codes for phenylalanine. If it is U, it codes for phenylalanine. What he observed, that he observed the formation where poly U was there. He observed the formation of phenylalanine. This is an amino acid. Of the formation of phenylalanine, where C was there, there was, and not one, many phenylalanines were formed. And here proline, synthesis of another amino acid, which is proline, polyproline. A was also there. A was also there. Where A was there, what was synthesized? Polylysine. Okay, and here where this G was there, glycine. This T he didn't do. Where it was there, it was lysine. Lysine here, glycine. Polyglycine. So he saw amino acids where he synthesized artificially poly U. Their phenylalanine was many phenylalanines were formed, where poly C was he artificially synthesized. There many prolines. Proline is again an amino acid. It was synthesized. Poly G. There many glycine were synthesized. Where A was he artificially where A synthesized. There many lysine were synthesized. So he came to know that this is the particular amino acid which codes for that particular base. This he came to know. Then this Hargobind Khurana, the third, he artificially synthesized U, G, U, G, U, G, U, G, U, G, U, G. He artificially synthesized this U, G, U, U, G, U, and what he found that there was alternate synthesis of two amino acids. This was cysteine, cysteine, then valine, then again cysteine, then again valine. So he this way deciphered he deciphered that UGU codes for cysteine and GUG codes for amino acid valine. These were the works with these were the researches which were done by Dr. Hargobind Khurana and